They say third time's a charm. So I'm going to finish up on the root chakra, third Sunday. Mostly, though, I've not talked just about the first chakra. I've talked about chakras themselves and kind of how that all comes about and the why it's important for us to understand the chakras and learn how to work with our chakras, because our chakras want to work with us. And if we work with them, they'll work with us. So if you want me to stop this one, you're going to have to pass a test. So, is this on? I want somebody who's been here for the last 2 Sundays to tell me, how is a chakra created? Raise your hand if you can do that for me. No, Tim, you don't count. Okay, I think you raised your hand first, so you have to use that. Though.
Thanks.
Very simple. Just tell me, how's it?
There's something called the Pingala, which is a vertical line through the body, and then you have 2 cascading lines. One is the Ida, which is the female, and the
Pingala is the male.
Okay, then the Shamunga. Shamunga, am I pronouncing that right?
Sushumna.
Sushumna is the one that goes down. Anyway, when they intersect, it creates energy.
Yes. Okay, that's pretty good, pretty good. I'll give you a B+. B minus. Somebody else just want to say something about that. Okay.
Is it when the male and the female connect?
Yes.
The 2 energy?
Yes.
There you go.
Very good. Anybody else tell me, how is the 7 major chakras is what we're dealing with, not the nada system or the intermediate chakras, but the main 7 that we're kind of start out with. That's where you begin with chakras. Anybody else? You want to tell us? Here, we got to do it up here, though.
It's where the 3 lines of energy come together at centers in the body, as indicated on the chart. But where those lines cross, the energy is increased exponentially, and thereby creating the chakras in the body, the revolving energy centers.
Good. All right. Well, I'm going to assume that these 3 people who speak for all of you, and all of you could explain that to somebody. And you should be able to, because people are going to go, you believe in chakras over there? Isn't that Eastern stuff, that New Agey stuff? You should be able to give them a good answer to make them understand what a chakra is. So that's what a chakra is and how a chakra is made. And let me just kind of go through it real quickly. And you all said it well, but where energy crosses energy. Okay. So we have what? 3 energy channels. Let's call them channels, 3 energy channels that run through the body. Okay, we have a neutral, first of all. You got to have a neutral. I don't want to do this all. I keep repeating this whole thing about the male and the female and the electric plugs that are here in this building and how there's a generator somewhere. And if I accidentally stuck my finger over there, I might get a little shock. But if I go put my finger in the generator, I would explode. So that's like going all the way to the essence of creator or source. We can't do that. So there has to be a path to it. And the path is a path of vibration and frequency, different dimensions and different levels. So that's when everybody says, I'm on the path, that's the path they're on. The path that they are on is the ability to, first of all, connect back to the multidimensional self. That self does not live on one dimension. It is not fully and 100% defined by the 5 senses of what you see, hear, feel, taste, and so on and so forth. That there is a self that we call the spirit self, okay, the sacred self. So just as spirit is sort of undefinable, right? I mean, it really comes to capturing this whole idea of spirit. It's just hard to define spirit. Now, you can be spiritual. That's a way of living, spirit, principles. But spirit is something that is just not definable. It's beyond our comprehension to do that. So it has used the the spectrum of vibration and sound and color, all three of these, to manifest itself into a multi-dimensional manifestation, which is becoming more and more available to people. People are more and more understanding, and as I've told you, all the new books now that are kind of written by more spiritually enlightened people, they all talk about the multiverse. You don't hear just the universe anymore, because the universe has been proven to become finite. We found the end of it. We found the beginning of it, where the Big Bang started. All of that has been measured. So you can't say that something that's infinite could be fit into something that is finite. How do you put something that has no beginning and no end in something that had a beginning and an end? Right? Makes sense to you? You can't do it. So now we have to realize that there's an infinite amount of universes to hold that which is infinite. So that means now that we have all this multiverse idea, which the ego world is trying to steal, by the way. All this, multiverse and all this stuff that's going out there in Silicon Valley and all of that, that is just the ego's version of what's really happening in the spiritual heavens of our being. See? And that's all the ego world does. It just borrows the truth and changes the agenda. Because it has nothing. It is nothing. Therefore, the only thing it can use is something. So it uses the something and changes it with its own agenda. And what is the agenda? One word. Separation. Every one of you should have just said that like that. The true original sin is a belief in separation. There you go. That's truly what original sin would be. It'd be the moment that a part of my mind said to another part of my mind, "Who are you?" Isn't that crazy? Yeah. Who are you? In other words, you're not me and I'm not you. And upon that, a belief system was built that is very alive today, that I'm not you and you're not me. By the color of your skin, by your sexual orientation, by your gender, by your different political affiliation, all proves you're not me and I'm not you. And wars come from that. Racism, all the isms come from that idea of the belief in separation. So, anyway, let me get back. I promised him I would do this root chakra thing and get it done with you as much as I can. But it's so important that you understand that you have to have a neutral, a positive and a negative polarity, male and female, yin and yang, whatever you want to call it, and you have to have the relationship between those three. And the relationship is where they cross each other. And when they cross each other, they build. They build. And they keep building until, now let's see if anybody can get this one, until it catches what? Torsion energy. Good, good. Ooh, check mark. Okay. What is torsion energy? What? Spins and spiral. A vortex. Well, what do you think a chakra is? When those thousands of years ago who were spending time meditating and developed their inner technology while the West was going to the outer technology, they became very enlightened to see that which was beyond the senses. And when they saw these intersections of energy, they saw what looked like to be a spinning disc or a wheel. And every time I say this, I can't help but think about Ezekiel's wheel. He saw a wheel in the middle of a wheel. And it was amber, which is interesting because amber is orangey, sacral chakra. Not by accident today. The universe trying to push me out of the root and say, let's move on up. You're stuck. But I really don't think you can really comprehend the rest of the chakra story until you embrace the root chakra. Your root chakra is where something that Gene Davis, you that remember, was in the class of changing the aging process, called root assumptions. That's what he called them, root assumptions. These mean the first time from conception to 7 years old, everything that you assume to be real is registered in your first root chakra. Doesn't start at birth. It goes through the entire how the divine downloads itself into the human story. I like that. Thank you. I like that. I'm not saying I like me. I'm saying I like that idea that incarnation is the download of the divine into the human story. Every one of you hold that experience of the divine intervening itself into the human story, and every one of you have a human story that the divine can experience. Grief, hurt, pain, joy, bliss, blessing. It doesn't care. It just wants to experience the human story. You know why? Because it didn't create the human story. Uh-oh. Spirit's getting ready to take over, I can tell. God did not create the human story. We created the humans created the human story. By our free will and choices and perceptions and beliefs and the systems that we built on those beliefs, like religion, education, I don't care what it is. These are man-made systems that are built upon how mankind perceives itself, each other, in the world. And that's why it just does something to me. In fact, recently I heard somebody saying, why would God allow children to starve? No. Why would people let children starve? God had nothing to do with children starving. We've done it because we're greedy. Because we don't know how to share and play right with each other. Because we're stuck in our adolescence, infinite state of our story, which is held in the first 3 chakras. Conception, infancy, 7. 7 to 11 is your sacral, where you begin to separate from your tribe, and you go to school and you start developing what it is to have relationships with other people who don't have to have a relationship with you. Oh boy, isn't that fun? This is when you want to be liked and popular and validated, and you start giving your power away because you so want to fit in to the world ego system. And in that, you lose the self with a capital S. And you become the self with a little s. And now you become who they think you are, not who you are. And when I say they, I mean the gods of this world. Oh, somebody help me now. Yeah. The gods of this world, little GDOS gods, the darker Elohims, whatever you want to call them, the 100%, the 113 corporations and 800 men that run the planet. Whoops, that just slipped out. Very few people's running this planet. And we're all down here like sheeple. And listen to this. And they that made it became like it. Psalms 115. And they made idols. Here's your idols. Forget the idols out there. The idols are in here. The idols are psychological idols. There are beliefs and perceptions that are built upon what they said I am. I wouldn't have ever known I was a sinner unless the church didn't tell me that. You know, if you go to some remote place somewhere on this planet where nobody's ever heard of religion, God, or Jesus, or anything else, they would not all of a sudden go, whoop! I just got it, I'm a sinner. No, not until the missionaries land and puts that in their mind. Then they aren't a sinner, but they become the sinner, because the gods tell us of what they are, and they create us in their image. Somebody help me. In their image and likeness. But something is stirring in the belly of the boat, in the depths of the ship, while the storm rages and looks hopeless, like we're not going to make it, somebody, a collective somebody, says, go wake up that which is in the depths of the ship. You've tried everything else and nothing has brought peace to the storm. You need to go wake up that power and energy that is in the depths and the bowels of the boat of the ship. And when they did, that presence, that Christ consciousness, whatever you choose, came up to surface into consciousness and simply, calmly said, help me, peace be still. And here we are working. Oh, we're working to get healthy. We're working to have prosperity. We're working to have a good job. We just work. We work harder, not smarter.
Right.
There is a better way to do this. Amen. Oh, I know Tim's back there in the nursery. All right, get back. How many's with me? Are you with me?
Yes.
I hope you're seeing why it is so important that you get that first 7 years conception. And we know that now. We know that it's proven that the fetus that is forming, that hears certain music, that there's environment that is violence, arguing, not wanted, all somehow gets into the fabric of what is forming. It's in the fabric. And this is why people who have issues, psychological issues, can spend all the thousands of dollars to go to counselors, psychotherapists, and I'm not saying against this, but not find relief. A lot of people don't. Some people do. But a lot of people do not find it through these techniques that are outside of themselves. And why? Is because they start out, well, what was your childhood like? What was your relationship with your dad? Your relationship with your dad and your mom and your environment did not start at the moment of birth. It started at conception. For the 7, 8, 9, 10 months that you were being formed, there is that environment out of the field that is entered into your personal field that was being made for you uniquely. So, bringing the idea of the chakra, or chakra, they tell me is the right way, is like an energy database. It is where you download the data of your life. This is where you make your human story by how you perceive yourself. And unfortunately, we perceive ourselves without knowing ourselves. Isn't that what the Greeks tried to tell us? Know thyself, and thou shalt know God. Know thyself. Jesus, Yeshua the teacher, taught that. If you know who you are, you'll know who God is. And religion is trying to get you to know who God is and not know who they are. Because they just think they're a bunch of saved sinners. Saved by the grace of God. And if you dared to say, no, I am that which created me, I am, you are blaspheming. And really, in the Christian story of Jesus, that's really why they would have crucified him at all. It was not his miracles and what he did. It was because he dared to be and declare himself as the incarnation of the divine into the human story 2,000 years ago. Woo! 2,000 years ago. Yes, I appreciate studying Buddha and all of the great teachers, but none of them recognized the divine had incarnated in them. Buddhism has nothing to do with the divine in the sense of the way we see the divine as the incarnation into the human story. That's why I follow the teachings of Yeshua, because he did. And he said, just as I know who I am, I will be your way to know who you are. Oh, there we go. Now we're positioning Jesus right, not as just the Savior of the world, but you need to start with being the Savior of yourself. And know yourself. So the root chakra, we know the location. You're mostly sitting on it. And we see it as being in the coccyx. The chakras actually move through the body. There's not a back chakra that's different from a front chakra. It runs front and back through the body. When we're in tuning forks and soul energetics working with, and we work a lot with chakra work and energy work, and when we start people on their back, on their stomach and work on the back, you got to realize that at that point you're bringing new energy in to form some of the oldest issues in their human story. That's old, past. See, the back represents where I've been. That's my past. So you want to work with the old stuff and bring it up to the front stuff, and then you can start working in that way. Now my goal is to do this with you after these teachings, is to open myself back up, and it's been a while. I haven't felt led and guided to do personal things, but I had sort of a epiphany or a direction of what I want to do next, and that is to open myself up again for sessions, or personal individual sessions, in which I will listen to your first chakra story, as much as you know of it, and then I will intuitively take the tuning forks and change your story. If there have been abuse sexually or in any other way, we don't have to continue to be the result of that. We can let go of that and change the story, even of our past. So in other words, you'll sit and talk to me. I will intuitively take tuning forks and vibrationally begin to change the pattern of that story. If it's based on fear or separation or anger or hurt or whatever it is that is not a part of the true nature of who you've been created to be, we will change that story to fit it. Father, make them one, even as we are one. Are you one with your human story, with your created story? There's a whole story of why creation happened, and you're here to fulfill the story. But you're too busy trying to fulfill the human story. So the first center holds all the energy of all other chakras. Again, that is why it's so important for you to understand your root chakra. The coccyx acts as a pump to help flow the energy up the spine. Some of that call it Kundalini energy. I call it unused energy that has not been used, and we have not integrated it into our everyday energy where we live. This center is the center of generation, which grounds us. Therefore, the coccyx bone is the seat of guilt and the center of the matrix for the electromagnetic frequencies of the world. So it's like a tail, a vibrational frequency tail that connects you and plugs you into the world. Mm-hmm. And I don't know about you, but in evolution, they lost their tail. Maybe we need to lose our tail. In inner evolution, as we evolve in consciousness, so we let go of all these things that we're plugged into the world that we're feeding, and sever ourselves from those connections. And we want to start at the first chakra. Stimulating the center increases energy, allowing the disconnection of guilt. The root chakra is the Muladhara. It's called, not important, but that's the term in the Hindu language. In the Eastern language, the Muladhara, which means survival, which again is the base of the spine. I'd like to share something with you called a mudra. How many know what a mudra is? Good. Okay, mudras are signs that you make with your fingers for certain things. Now, I looked at this chart and I saw all of these. The one for the root chakra is just this. So you see sometimes people meditating or whatever, and they'll do this. They're making a mudra. To me, what a mudra is a way of bringing energy into a pattern, a form pattern, so that it can fit into our world. In other words, energy is everywhere and everything, but a mudra allows it to become through a symbol. See, all spirit or energy, whatever you want to call it, needs a symbol in this world, and then we find what is behind the symbol, and that is called metaphysics, beyond the symbol. Okay, so if you do this, this absolutely has to do with calming yourself, bringing yourself down out of a state of anxiety and guilt and fear when it hits you. And I just wanted to share that with you. The sound that you would want to make with this is the LAM, L-A-M, LAM. Remember we went through all those, LAM, VAM, YAM, HAM, all of these, and OM. All have a sound and all have a pattern to it. We learned that, and as I'm closing this up, we learned that people, and this is my part of my story, is how warned I was about dabbling in Eastern teachings growing up in the fundamentalist church. They said anything that's from the East was false, was of Satan, and that we should always stay away from Eastern type teachings. Buddhism, Hinduism, Sufism, all those isms that come and originate out of the East were seen as somehow frightening to the Western Christian mind. And we was warned against it. I was. Until I realized that everybody in the Bible's from the East. What a dawning that was. None of them was from the West. Everything they did was Near Eastern culture and spoke the languages of the East, especially the Aramaic language. So I worked for so many years and decades trying to find some context to the content. And I've not been able to do that. So I want to give you a scripture. I think I gave it to you last week. Every good gift and every perfect gift is from above and comes down from the fathers of lights, to whom there's no variableness nor shadow of turning. So actually, the energy of who you are does not start here and go up. It starts up here and comes down to here. This is the landing of self into the human experience. So it comes down. I just read to you, everything comes down, which is a perfect gift. Then once you come down, you become an initiate to move up. Another scripture that is good. I don't know if I have it here. Oh yeah, Ephesians 4:9. Now he that ascended, what is it but also descend first into the parts of the earth? He that descended is the same also that ascended up. So the path up does not happen until we have reached the fullness of incarnating into the deepest part of the human story, which is the root chakra. And I know most people start with up the spine from the coccyx. I have too, but I feel like I've gotten a little bit of correction on that interest. So the first root chakra is about tribe. And tribe doesn't always mean your blood family. It could mean a group of people that you're a part of. When you have joined yourself to a collective belief system, then you are in a tribe of some kind. right? And therefore, you lose a little bit of your individualization of who you are to join something, because you're looking for something bigger than yourself. And we think it is in these little tribal things. Now, for HeartLight, this is the challenge for HeartLight. No doubt about it, we're unique. I mean, we're not really trying to be a church. We're not trying to be somebody built on dogma and doctrines that are set, but we're trying to be a part of the evolutionary process of co-creating ourselves into another space of what it means to be a human. But if I'm holding the weights of unresolved issues that are in my story or stories, because here's the thing about it, people, if you're a person who does embrace past lives, you have to realize that you have many levels of your root chakra story when you started those lives, just like this one. And these are the things you don't understand about yourself. These are the things that sometimes are not even your nature. It's just not my nature to be that way, to act that way. Where did this come from? I hear it all the time. I've said it about myself. That is not my nature to do that, but yet I did it because it was coming out of the collective story of my first chakra. So we can't hold on to unresolved issues. We want to clear all of these chakras beginning at the root chakra. Now, I'm going to move on here. You're going to get a paper today, a handout. It's going to give you a lot of information on a series that I did a long time ago on an adventure through the 7 centers of spiritual and physical power. And let's talk about the symbolism of the root chakra. It is the Muladhara, as I said, meaning root support, located at the perineum, base of the spine, and the coccygeal plexus. The element is earth. Every one of these have an element. Earth, water, fire, air, sound and vibration, and awakened consciousness. And connection with the divine would be the crown in that way. The glands that are affected, because each chakra is connected to one of the 7 endocrine systems of your body. So this is adrenals. Adrenals. Other parts of the body that are affected from the first chakras are the legs, feet, bones, hemorrhoids, constipation, sciatica, degenerative arthritis, and knee problems. Did I hit everybody?
Couple times.
And you're telling me you don't need to know about the first root chakra? If you have those symptoms, I do. That means there's unresolved issues that I need to follow. And that's why there is a rising up of light workers who are being attracted toward trainings that can help people to get to the deeper roots. See, it's a root chakra. The teacher Jesus said, put your axe at the roots of the trees. The Native American saying is, if you want the sun to shine into your face, step out from the family tree. Now, am I trying any way to tell you that you need to shut your door and your mind to your families? No, but you need to realize you did not come from them. You came through them. It should not be your everything. I'm sorry to say that to you. I've got a daughter and grandkids and all. I've learned the bloodline thing and the genetic thing and the DNA thing. I know how powerful it is, especially with mothers who are made that way and wired that way. Evolution put it that way by developing a part of the mammalian mind that made us love and protect our young. That is a part of the evolution story. But if we have any of these issues, there's still something that is unresolved in that first chakra. Legs, feet, bones. Legs and feet always have to do with how we walk our walk in this world. What does the ego mind want to do? Slow you down and stop you in your track, and its ultimate is to abort you before you reach the crown. So if Herod can slay the firstborn son, do you get that metaphysically? Thank you. He wants to slay you before you become the individualization and the manifestation of the divine in humanity, until humanity and divine become one new creation. Yeah, new creation, a new creation. I love that idea of the marriage of the divine and the human to bring forth itself and rebirth itself into the new species. Color is red. Interesting. The whole thing starts out with a man in the garden who is named Adam, which is a poorly transliterated term. It should be Adam. The Aleph. Dam is blood or red. And then they make the pottage out of the red lentil beans. So what's going on here? It's starting it out at the root chakra that we are truly the red man. Before there was a people called the red race, there was red men, which means blood. We were God's bloodline. Oh, somebody help me. Oh, yeah. We were to continue the bloodline and lifeline of our Creator, but we have separated ourselves because my genetics and bloodline is different from yours unless you're related to each other. If you're not, then again, I'm not you and you're not me. It comes back to that same thing. Until we understand the whole family in heaven and earth has been given that name. And I don't think they're talking about the name Jesus. I think they're talking about the nature of who Jesus was. When everybody becomes the nature of all that God is at the human level, then we will all have the same name, I am. Say it with me. I am. That's the point in consciousness you got to get to. I am. And this is where the Christians have missed it for me, is to think that scripture, that no man can come to God, the Father, but through me. They don't know who's speaking. They haven't discerned that it was not coming from the body of Jesus. It was coming through the body of Jesus, from the I am presence that's in Him. And what do I share with Him? I am too. You can't stop the I am in one person, because we all share existence. So He said, I am is the way. I am is the truth. I am the bread which cometh down from heaven. He was declaring who you were by saying who He was. And instead religion has put it all on Him and separated you over here as this victim of humanity, seeking and begging God to do something for you, when God said through the teacher, it is finished. Creation was a success. It's all done. Now you got to take over. I've done my part. And I did it well and successful. And now it's going to be up to you to align yourself with divine principle, which I am. Not an old man in the sky, but the principles of love, peace, joy, gentleness, kindness, all those kind of wonderful things that we work real hard to be. I don't know about you, how successful you are being joyful and peaceful and happy 24/7. No. Because you're trying to be something you're not, because you don't think you are. If you'd start becoming who you know you are, then it will become you. And you won't have to work near as hard. plugging into the attributes of God, the divine, is what's important for all of us. The seed sound is lamb. We can all say lamb, L-A-M. Lamb. It's a vowel sound like an O. Rope, like in rope. O. It has 4 petals, which is the vam, sam, sam, sam. It is in the tarot suit, the pentacles. In the Kabbalah, it is the Malkuth on the tree of life. The planets is Saturn and Earth. That's interesting. I would love for us to talk to Susan about those planets and what they have relationship with. That might be something there. Corresponding verb is I have. The yoga path is Hatha Yoga. Herbs for incense is cedar. Minerals are ruby, garnet, and bloodstone. Animals is elephant, ox, and bull. Isn't that interesting? Hindu deities are Uma and some names I can't pronounce, so it doesn't matter to us, I guess. Archangels is Ariel. Ariel. And the chief operating force is gravity. So I have this for you all to have this information on the root chakra that will really give you some information that you might want to delve in a little bit deeper into it. So again, the root chakra represents our first essential root assumptions of who we choose to see ourselves as. And that's why, do you see now why you can't throw away this idea of being born again? It's never meant more to me. You say, oh, I don't like that born again stuff. All those Christians aren't they? Are you born again? Well, I'm saying to you, have you been born again? We need to be reborn. And we do that by going back to the root chakra, to the early first assumptions, and change those early assumptions, put the axe at the root of the tree, and clear all of that and begin. And when that happens, it's going to reverberate all the other chakras and start rearranging them to fit the root assumptions of the foundation that we're building on. And this is why what Sandra's doing, I so endorse to you. I just did a talk Thursday night on the Fibonacci series, on the mathematics of the planet, and how important that it is for you to understand what you want to align yourself with. So you need to know. I find it so interesting that we know so little about these most important things, such as the Fibonacci, the golden mean ratios, the sacred ratios. All of these things are essential for you to really start building on something solid rather than sifting sand. Huh? Yeah. Either you're building from the root chakra on the solid rock, or you're building on the sifting sands of man's ideas. And that means everything. I went to that workshop this weekend and I got it. I'm in bliss. I'm in love. I'm in total peace. That may last till Tuesday. Because the sifting sands of your story. But if we're built upon the solid rock, and who is that rock? I am the Christ, the Son of the living God. That's what he said to Peter. Peter, you are the rock, the Petros. And upon this, I'm going to build me a church. Not a bunch of buildings with stained glass, but I'm going to build a people, a spiritual community that's going to embody the Christ that I am shall be embodied as the Christ they are. And we will have a collective Christ that will cover the earth like the waters covers the sea. This is why people don't understand us when they walk in here, because they want to come back at the church level. They want to play church. I'm so tired of playing. I think after 60 years, I deserve to stop playing church. If I don't deserve anything, it's to quit playing the church game. It's just not right.
Have voice.
I want to be the church. So we're going to close by doing our root chakra bowl. And we're going to do our affirmation. If you guys have that back there. Let's all take a deep breath. And through the language of vibration, sound, we begin to repattern the old story. I'm not good enough. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not talented enough. And together, if you'll open your eyes, together, I am worthy of respect. I am connected and grounded. I withstand obstacles of my life. I feel protected in this world. I have a healthy mind. And since Sandra brought in the sacral, breathe in and exhale. The root chakra, the Muladhara chakra. Another reason that we need to work with this right now is because it is where our connection and balance to the world is, to the earth. And because of the magnetic fields and all the things that are changing, so it is changing us and how our atoms are working and how our cells are reproducing. Every system in our body is trying to retune itself to this new norm that's trying to come in. And if we can help it by giving it vibration and sound and some color, we can find ourselves a much easier way to tune ourselves to what is coming in. Much easier. Join me, be the first fruits of the harvest.
Time to let your heart light shine. Time to let your heart